Hello everyone and welcome back to round 6 of the Moto America USA League. Now, today we're off to the famous Laguna Seca in the California Hills track. Personally, I don't actually like that much. It's very well known around the world for being one of those up and down hills. It's really twisty, windy, and it has a lot of elevation to it. Very difficult track overall, and personally I've never got on with it on any game. So coming to this round, I was thinking maybe with the lack of power my Kawasaki has, I might be on for a good result here, but at the same time the track is a bit funky in GP bikes, so I was thinking to myself, could be a great round, could be another shit show like Road America. So going into it, I had some positive feelings and some also big question marks for the race, but I was P4 in the free practice before the race, so the pace was decent. The one lap pace was quite good in the race. What I could do for 15-16 laps without making a mistake was another question, but yeah, so not so bad overall. I was quite happily coming to this race with maybe a chance of a podium if everything went my way, but I also kind of figured out how my FPS was dropping. Basically every other league race I've done, I've joined it with my settings maxed out like I normally would and adjust them in the league session. This time I've adjusted beforehand, came in and my FPS was absolutely mint, so it looks like I might have a small fix for it going forward, but we'll see again. I'll need to confirm it again next week. A small change just to give myself a bit more confidence in the race. But now let's jump over to my fastest lap in qualifying. So you join me coming out of the final corner. There's about 10 minutes left in the session. Like I mentioned in the intro, my FPS was slightly better, so my one lap pace definitely had a bit more in it this week, as I felt I could actually extract the ultimate out of the bike and really just kind of put it a bit more on the line. Most weeks you're wanting to get a good lap in qualifying as your banker and then kind of just take the piss and just try and do the most unreal and outrageous lap to get a good lap to win. So previous weeks it's really been a struggle to get that banker in, and that's what's cost me the kind of really good lap. So most of the qualifying sessions this year I've had have kind of been like, well, I didn't really get a good lap in and I've kind of slightly further back than I wanted to be and all this, so I felt like coming into the session I could actually really do a good lap. And up to this point here, as we come through turn 6 on up to the famous corkscrew, it's been a good lap. 25.8 already is a pretty fast lap around here. My quickest coming into this session was a 24.8, was my ultimate fast lap, so the fact we're in 1 second of that in a qualifying session isn't bad. As we come down through the corkscrew and into Rainies, we are about 3 tenths under, 4 tenths as we get a good exit over there, so we're on for 25.3, 25.4 if everything goes our way. So one more corner to go, tricky 90-degree corner. Many riders have run on there, including the likes of Casey Stoner. Out of the last corner, small bit of astroturf on the exit, nearly half a second quicker we will go, and it is a 25.36. Unfortunately, it only puts us P7 on the grid. Biker did a good lap, 25.0. That's a pretty damn fast lap. That is his fastest lap of the weekend. Tomo, who is either a wildcard or a new registered rider, P5. Dario Andriano, another very fast lap from him. Garang, Luke Hydrock and Svani, another pole position. That guy has immense pace. Luke Hydrock did some silly lap time to get even close to him, to be honest, because most of us pretty much 1 second off of Savani throughout all the practice sessions, so to be only 0.5 off that is some corner cutting lap time there. So fair play to him, brilliant lap, and it's good to see not such a big gap between the top 7. Then we have VS Master slightly further back and Speedy, a couple more wildcards there, so it's going to be interesting for the race when we have a few unknowns when Tomo, VS and Speedy, they could get in the mix and really spice it up. But we jump now directly to the race start. 4 red lights. We need to get a good start as always, and we do. We got a very good initial launch. Unfortunately, we run straight up the back of Andriano, so we have to basically abort that, go into the inside. Now we've reached our inside, we have to kind of look for a way around the outside, so I release the brake, run the bike slightly off track around the outside of the 2 Suzukis. Luke Rock absolutely gets it completely wrong into turn 1, comes back into turn 2 and squeezes me. I'm still on the inside of the Suzuki of Andrioni. So at the moment now for me, just get away the first sector clean. We've done that. Through the sector here, I'm pretty quick. I know I've really high corner speed, so when Luke Rock made that mistake there, I thought maybe if I can just go to the inside, maybe I get a move, but I actually end up touching him and sending him across in the braking zone. So unfortunately I actually made him go slightly defensive. I again had a quick look there, maybe I could turn it and shoot it up the inside. and get up into turn 6, but it's a risky corner. Struggled all the weekend with this corner. There's a bit of a dip there in it, and if you don't have a perfect line, or if you're braking or in wrong gear, front just tucks. Biker gets a brilliant run on us. He is now up behind me in P5. He has a look into the corkscrew. Very risky move that would have been on the open lap. He does think better of it and pull back. So pretty good start. P7 up to P4 in the opening lap. This Wayne Rainey corner here is absolutely terrible as well. Front end does like to roll off the edge of a cliff there for no reason. This corner as well, not very nice. Pretty much a lot of this track is off cambered or has elevation, and it really makes it tricky. Garing loses the lead in the final corner, gets it completely wrong, and up to the line he comes. He's in P2, just ahead of Luke Rock. So we come over the crest for the first time in the racing speed, and someone is in the gravel, and down at it is the Yamaha of Garing. So 2 mistakes in as many corners has cost him his podium chance at the moment. So at this moment in time now, P7 to P3, pretty damn good. I'm pretty happy with life. I'm pretty happy to be this close to the front two. Unfortunately, just after losing small bit of touch to Savani and Luke Rock, their pace, to be honest, is just ridiculous. So I'm not really too worried that they're pulling away. I give Biker behind me a quick wave, and he repays the favour by flying past me. Unfortunately, he does run into the gravel, and that is his podium chance probably gone as well. That has a big gap now he's come back from. He loses a good 5 seconds there, I'd imagine. So at the moment they are dropping like flies. It looks like P3 at the moment is looking like mine. I think that is VS now behind me, and Tomo further back. But as we come up into here, the bike just does not want to stop at the last bit. We run on to the famous gravel at the top of the corkscrew. To be honest, I just kind of rolled back on track, knowing that the riders behind will probably try to make the most of it. So I didn't really try to jump back into my position, just gave up the position. So bad mistake again for me. Didn't really brake ridiculously late, but unfortunately it was just too late for me to get it stopped. At that time the bike just wouldn't pull up. Sometimes it happens into that corner. So we are now down to P5. That is Speedy using some interesting lines coming out the last corner behind me. So top 6 all pretty close together. I can imagine that Reese behind Speedy is only maybe 2 or 3 seconds back. So there's a top 7 here that is pretty close and quick. It's probably the most depth of field we've had all season, and high pace race. So at this point now we just had to get into the rhythm. Had to start knocking some laps off under my delta. 27.8 laps around, not really anything to write home about. You really want to be in the 26 in the race. So that was the goal, low 26s if possible at 25, but 26 was the goal for the race. And in fact I had a few more FPS this week and I felt a bit nicer. I was overall pretty happy coming into this race for the first time in a while. I also made a small adjustment about an hour before the race. I changed my gearing, made it quite a bit shorter really, and it made the bike a bit more aggressive out of corners and kind of difficult in some corners. You'll see the final corner does catch me out a few times. The way I broke and downshift into that corner was different with this setup, and it just took me some time to get into it. In the race my muscle memory took over. You'll see here I go up to third. As soon as I brake I backshift, and that just sometimes locks up the rear. It didn't that time, but it just pushed me a touch deep. So I was struggling quite a bit with that corner, and then again the shorter gears and probably a bit more torquey throttle response. Massive slide there for me. Dario Andriano, who had a terrible opening lap, he was behind me into turn 5, crashed, and he has retired early in this one. Now at this point here we are dropping back from the fast boys in front. We are settling into a nice P5. It is now Biker who's ahead of me behind me in P6. About 3-4 seconds back, so he's gained a bit of time back. There was a crash for ahead. It is unfortunate when the lap riders, but that is P4 of Tomo on the Gixxer 1000. So one of the stand-in or post late register riders has tipped off in front of me. That puts me back up to P4. So all going well at the moment. We're gaining time back, and the mistakes are kind of being limited. You can see there now this time, big mistake in here, and unfortunately that has cost me dearly, but not too much. Came out of here, the quick look for Biker, and I looped it. I'm going to completely blame myself for that. I'm not going to blame the gear change for that, because that was just a lapse in concentration. I was in a way I was too concerned about what was going on track. I didn't want to cut back onto the line in front of someone, so I had a quick look, but I kind of was so annoyed that it made that mistake there that I just kind of pinned it, hoping I could get away with it. Bunta there has repassed me, but he's made turn 1 all wrong, and I slip back up the inside of him. So P7 at the moment. We jump now to lap 8. There's yellow flags ahead. It is, I believe, Tomo again. He has crashed and then does a small like 180 burnout, so it's been a rough race so far for him. He showed some immense pace early on, but now is struggling to keep it rubber side down, as you do sometimes in GP bikes. So 8 laps in, 1 crash, 1 run off track, or 2 if you count the little bunny hop across the corkscrew. So we're down to P7. I was kind of not really unhappy because my pace was pretty good anyway, and it was a small mistake, and I kind of started to learn about here that I can't backshift as well easily down here. I'm still kind of trying to fight my own muscle memory that you have to be slower on the downshift there. But as the race went on, it got easier for me and got a bit more consistent. Speaking of consistency, that is a yellow R1 in front of me. That is Gaggering, a guy who's already crashed in this race. Crashed once again, did the exact same thing to me, where he looped it out of the last corner behind Reese, trying to get a good run on him. So battle of the loopers at the moment. So he is in P5. We're battling for a top 5 finish here. His pace again is probably just a smidge quicker than mine, but when I'm this close to him, I was kind of feeling maybe could get a lunge on him or something like that. But at the moment now, I'm just kind of in this part of the track. You're not really going to pass. You can do a move here, but from here to probably the penultimate corner, there's not really an overtaking opportunity, not a safe one anyway. You can try it into the corkscrew, but it's just a nightmare to take on yourself. Again, that is the lap rider. We've lapped him 2 times now. That is Lopez, I believe his name is, and unfortunately he's having a rough race. He's been lapped again. Gagarin goes slightly wide here. I considered trying to cut underneath him here, but he just kind of blocks off the line enough that it didn't give me enough of an opportunity to really actually get underneath him. So I'm trying to use him now to go with him. 26.3 last time around, pretty fast lap time for myself, so I knew I had the pace to at least stick with him. Maybe not to pass and overtake and pull away, but again you can just see my rear end dancing around under the brakes, very unlike my riding style. And I believe that is Bunter behind me, and he's on some very good pace at the moment. He has pulled me in a slight bit. So overall, those fast guys kind of everywhere. We go across the top of the hill there so fast. It's so easy to crash down into this turn 1. He goes wide. I release the brake and just try and turn it underneath him, but he comes back to the late apex, well within his right there, and we get very, very close. So I'm trying to think of some creative ways to get past the Yamaha in front. But for now, I'm probably just better off sticking in behind them. We are going green, personal best sectors for me here, so I can't really complain considering 26.4s in my lap times at the moment. So we're really on good pace here. So I'm finally been able to show what I can do in this league, showing my actual true pace instead of being 3 to 4 seconds off like I was in Road America and some other rounds this season. So for now, if I can stick with him, I'm all happy with that. But he is just slightly quick. You can see he just pulls a bit out of there. The one part of the track where you probably need a good power up the hill, but we just brake really late into the corkscrew and pull a bit of time back in. I was actually confident enough on the front end in there. That was Bunt, I believe, who crashed behind me. Or was it actually? I don't think it was. I think it was the lap rider ahead, but I'm not really sure who's gone down. Yellow flags always throw up a bit of confusion on this game because you don't know where or who's after crashing. But we come into this last corner. You can just see, I believe that is Biker just ahead of me. We once again go deep. And unfortunately, that is a wheelie out of there. And you can see him struggling to keep it down. That is Bunter crashing out of the last corner. He lit the rear up. And that was pretty much the end of him for today's race. But I've lost crucial time to the Yamaha in front. I even got on the gravel into turn 1 there. Not very smart doing that. There's another rider off. I believe that's Tavella, the host, on his R1. He's at a struggle race. Complained a lot himself about rear grip, which is at a premium at this track. So, sit rep, P6, 11 laps gone, 1 crash, couple of mistakes. So overall, it's not been a shocking race for me. I'm quite happy how my pace has turned out. I've actually been able to use it for once in the actual league. So at this moment in time, being P6, my biggest concern was that Biker was ahead of me, my main championship rival. And of course, Luke Hyde-Rock was up in P2, who was, at the moment in this point of this championship, he was only 2 points ahead of me. So it was kind of unlikely I'd beat him in it, because he does seem to some weeks show up a pace that is around my pace, but some weeks then he does this where he's just absolutely a couple of tenths off of Savani. So for me, it was always going to be a tough ask to beat him. But there's a couple of people ahead of me in the championship that don't seem to be riding often. Azrael Yellow, it doesn't look like he's be back, so we could jump up to P4 and After Andreoni's disconnect today, he won't score any points, which means we'll gain a nice chunk of points on him today if we can get a top 5 or top 6 finish. But you can see here, I zoom in, Gary Green just disappears like Harry Potter, and he actually disconnects. You can see someone else disconnects. I'm not too sure who that guy is, or if they're connected, maybe they're brothers or something, I don't know, but they disconnect at the identical time, so not really sure what goes on. I actually didn't see him disconnect on my screen like that. I just remember coming over the crested hill and be like, Jesus, where's he gone? And at this point then I was up to P5, and that was pretty much my race from there. Reese was too far up the road for me to really pull in, so put 8 seconds between us. I might have been pulling him in a small bit, but he was also in the 25, so even at that he pretty much neutralified my pace throughout the race in the second half of the race. So we lap Lopez for a third time today. He does get out of the way. I give him a little wave, and he does, in fairness, give me plenty of room. Again, I give him a nice wave. He's been pretty good today with the lapping. He's been right off the line for me. He's been brilliant, so you have to give him props. You can't always expect him to be the fastest man in the world, so when they do happen to get lapped, you just need to give him a bit of credit and that he was aware enough to get off the line. Big slide there for me. Rear tyre, the soft rear tyre, really having a long day today. Me putting a lot of pressure again there. It's spinning up the hill even in 4th and 5th gear as we come into the corkscrew for the final time. I'm damn glad to get this round out of the way. There was so much work went into getting to this point of the weekend that I had so much issues in the early part of the week when I was doing some practice. This corner, could not ride it. Every lap crash. Didn't really understand why. You go into it no lean, you go into a full lean, you go into it no brake, throttle, everything, no matter what gear, but eventually managed to figure it out. And this corner, unfortunately, was my enemy today. That probably cost me a chance at fighting with Reese. Would I beat him? I don't know, but definitely had good pace, but so did he. Come up to the line, it is a P5, so we recover after a poor round last week to get a decent round this week. Savani comes home with another victory. He crashed on turn 3 on the last lap, had a really weird kind of low end slide off. He just upshifts and he slides out from the lead. He does manage to remount and win ahead of Luke Hardrock and VS Master, a wildcard, only finishing 1.2 off to win with limited practice. Brilliant pace from the Italian there. Biker comes home with a very solid P4 after a mistake early. I'm P5 after probably one of my best performances of the season. Bunter recovers to P6. Tomo, after showing brilliant pace early on, P7. Kawasaki rider number 2, John O'Ninja, finishing P8, probably his best result of the season, and Japper rounding off the top 9 on his R1, coming home in P9. Have a quick look at the championship standings. It is pretty much one hand on the title for Daniel Savani. 43 points ahead of Luke Hardrock. Azriello, as I mentioned, he hasn't done many races this year. He's 50 points back now. And Dario Andreoni's 52, so 52 points means he's out of it. Azriello is out of it, so it's only Luke Hardrock or Savani, and realistically it's going to be Savani. Luke Hardrock has showed brilliant pace this year, but Savani is just in another league and he's not really going to drop that many points. I can't see it happening. I currently sit exactly the same points once again in P5 and P6. Me and Biker, we're going to go down to the final round with this battle for P5. If Azriello doesn't show up, it will be a battle for P4, and you never know, if Dario has another poor round, it could be the battle for P3 in the championship. We've been pretty close all year long, and we are getting towards the end and we're still on the same points. Bunta consistently coming home in the top 8 with P7 in the championship. Alex Nogueira P8, and Manu rounding off the top 9. So then that has been it for Laguna Seca, one of the worst tracks for me personally on the calendar. After the calendar was released, I kind of pinpointed this as probably one of my worst results. Little did I know, it was probably my best performance in the league, and overall I'm pretty damn happy with how the race turned out. That one small mistake, that small error out of the final corner really cost me a chance at least trying for the podium. Would I've gotten it? Probably not. VS in P3 was way too quick, and so were the front 2 Italians, so it was just a Italian masterclass here in America today. So best for me was P4 at least, but I came home in P5. Can't really be too unhappy. Again, how my pace was pretty okay for me. I'm pretty happy that I managed to pull out many 25s in the race, and I even went fastest or faster than I went in qualifying with a 25-1, so stupid lap time to be doing in the race. But I felt good today, which was probably the first time all year that I've said that, and I think it was a lot to do with the FPS. But we maybe can take this form into the next round, which is I don't actually know the name of the track, but it is a really, really weird one. It's like the back end of the track is like a car park. It's really weird. You'll see it next week. It's going to be fun. But unfortunately, I am away for a few days this week, so my practice might be a bit limited. So I might be struggling coming into next week's round. Anyway, I am going to leave it there for today's episode 6 of the Moto America League. Pretty good result for me. I'm happy overall. It keeps me in touch with Reese in the championship. But if you have enjoyed today's video, drop a like down below, subscribe to see more. I should catch you all in the not so distant future. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.